Hi, everybody. It's Patricia Berry again to talk a little bit more about relationship-centered fundraising. And I'm joined again today by Yen Azaro. Hi, Yen.
Hello.
Yen Azaro is a graphic recorder. And so she's going to actually illustrate the conversation that we're going to have today. In our last conversation, we talked a little bit about the individual, right? So once somebody comes into your organization as a unique donor, what kind of journey do you take them on? So we talked about the relationship circle, what you could think about from in the relationship, from the gift that they just gave to the gift that they're going to give next, and what you should be doing in between. So that's a very individual way to look at this, to look at fundraising. And now we're going to do the balance of that, right? So you need a balance of both systems thinking and individual donor attention and care. So I'm a socialized data wonk all of my life. So the systems is the thing that I really start to shine and get really excited about. So this is a way of thinking about your organization and your donors as I said, an ecosystem, that there's multiple parts of the ecosystem and you're going to take them on a journey. And not everybody's going to take the whole journey. Some people will show up in different parts, but for the most part, you can think about your entire donor base in this kind of way. So when people meet you, well, actually, you can think about before they even meet you, right? So you have a wonderful organization, it's doing a terrific mission, and then there's all these people out there who love you, they just don't know you yet, right? So that's where your communications and marketing group goes looking for those people, right? So they're out there swimming around and they need to start meeting your organization. And once they meet you, they may come in, and again, this is thinking about the entire system of how to build a donor fundraising program that creates a pipeline that you can depend on every year. So your marketing and, sometimes your fundraisers go out and meet people who haven't met you yet and get them kind of enthused and engaged in the organization. And then often donors come in kind of that annual giving kind of phase, right? So they're giving, they like the gatherings, they are often giving because they have some sort of connection to your organization. Do they know somebody? I came to an event. I'm willing to kind of show up and give a certain amount of my wealth. Hopefully, if we're doing our job right, that's on a yearly basis. But that's kind of the first wave of people that come into your organization. And if you're doing a great, very fully realized ecosystem pipeline, that annual giving group should be pretty big. So you're working with your marketing people. It's a little bit more transactional, right? So if you think about how public radio does it, right? You get the mug if you're an annual giver. They have certain expectations that I'm going to come to the big party once a year, or I'm going to get some sort of report or access, but it'll be in a big group of people. And that's just fine. That's, kind of your bread and butter. It helps you keep the lights on. Another way that you could think about that really big annual giving group is they're also your members, right? If you're a membership driven organization and that's one of your income streams, members are going to be in that big pool of people from annual giving. So there's things that happen to them every year, but it's usually mass customized things. And they're there for a variety of different reasons, but you may not know them personally, but still require a lot of care. And you want to make sure that you're thanking and providing impact conversation around the work that you're doing, but you're usually doing that in a more, like I said, mass customized way. And truthfully, people at the membership level and the annual giving level usually don't expect anything more than that. But then if you're doing your job right, you're beginning to offer avenues that people in those big groups, in that annual giving group, in that membership group, can get invited if they want to give a little bit more money or get a little bit more involved to come a little bit deeper into your organization. And not everybody from the annual giving is going to do that. You know, this is not a one-to-one cycle. This is usually, how do you create the opportunities in your organization that they can come and volunteer, that they can be asked for a specific gift, that somebody who is perhaps at the leadership level may recognize that there's somebody in the annual giving group that may want to get more involved and be asked for a more specific gift. And that's when you begin to pull people into what I term as lead annual giving, right? So all the levels, all the financial levels for this are different for each organization, but you should develop, as you think about your system, the general expectations of annual giving is this amount to this amount, lead annual giving is this amount to that amount. And then we'll talk about the other levels as well. But that's one of the things that you'd work on as you begin to develop your infrastructure and your approach. So think of lead annual giving people as a smaller group than the annual giving, but still a fairly large group of people who are giving more, are giving perhaps a little bit more often, and are beginning to rise up and indicate that they're interested in having deeper conversations. And that's where you can, if you're thinking about the pipeline of your organization, maybe identify a few early stage major gift donors in that lead annual giving pot that you could have them essentially be the instigators for annual giving, right? So you could ask 5 lead annual giving people to get together and do a challenge grant to the annual giving group. There's different ways that you can allow people in that lead annual giving mode to begin to kind of shine, to begin to step up, to begin to think about how they can serve this organization, both with increased giving as well as increased involvement. So then you think about, as the journey progresses, you should be looking at those lead annual givers and thinking about some deeper and more one-to-one stewardship for them. So how are you conveying to them their impact? How are you giving them an opportunity to lead? And now are they ready to kind of enter into the major giving phase, right? And this is when things get much less transactional and much more on the transformational side. These people that are moving from lead annual giving to major giving are much more connected to your mission. They know much more about your mission. They often have many more connections in your organizations and many more one-to-one conversations. And you're beginning to know them as an organization. You're beginning to ask them what their mission and values are. And so in the Giving Circle video that we did, this is kind of where that Giving Circle starts to kick in, that you start to think about what was their last gift and how am I preparing them for their next gift? And what are we doing in that in-between time? So lead annual giving begins to be cultivated into major giving. And that's also the place too, where if you're doing your job right at relationship focused fundraising, you're beginning to understand what the donor wants to solve in their own life. Like, what is their vision? What are their values? And where do those visions and values meet your organization? If you're doing relationship centered fundraising correctly, people that are in this major giving place don't expect tchotchkes. They don't necessarily expect gifts. They don't expect transactional engagement with your organization, because their vision for what they want to accomplish in the world meets you at your vision. And so what they begin to do is invest in the work that you're doing and get excited about the work that you're doing and have far fewer expectations about you're giving them something back. So that's like that sweet spot of when it really begins to tip from this transactional engagement with your organization to something that's much deeper, that you guys are meeting at your mission, and time and resources from the donor are beginning to really make the next steps of your vision work. You see in this area, people often name funds. They have different kind of recognition in the organization, and are very clear that they want to know exactly how their money is being spent and how that is moving the mission of the organization forward. Now, at any point in this journey, people may move back and forward. The reason I like putting this into a more organic circle is what our industry right now usually envisions this as is a pyramid. And I find the pyramid to be very static. It's very campaign driven. If you're doing the work of relationship fundraising, there should be no emergencies. And that's maybe for another video to talk about campaign culture and how that may be undermining true relationship fundraising. But putting people into a pyramid doesn't allow them to move around. So a major giving donor may show up for a major gift, and that may be it for them. They may go back to annual giving, and that's fine. The idea with an ecosystem approach to fundraising is people can step off or step into different places in your giving cycle, while you can still develop expectations of the pipeline and the amount of money that you'll be able to raise based on how many people are showing up in each area. So somebody may even show up in your organization as a major giving donor initially, so just recognize that people may come and go, but if you're doing the work of systems that build a long-term approach to fundraising and donated income that you can depend on, this is one way to really think about that deeply. So your major giving donors, again, are something that's a little bit more one-to-one. And now from that major giving donor, you're going to begin to identify people that are really, they've been there for a while. You both understand your missions, the resources are there, and now they're ready to really step up for the organization and come to the very center. And the very center you can think of as your mission and values, right? That once they go through that leadership phase, a major giving phase and into the leadership phase, they are now getting primed to come to the center of your organization. And this is a very tender place. So what I see in organizations that are very transactionally motivated, often at that leadership giving level, when they are queuing somebody up to give a transformational gift to the organization, organizations often lose sight of their mission, and they encounter something that I call mission creep. So if a donor either promises to give you or gives you a ridiculously large amount of money, that can set you off course. You have to be really clear. You are defined by the things that you say no to, by the gifts that you say no to. In relationship ecosystem fundraising, it is not a gift at any cost. It is a gift where your missions meet. And your mission may change based on developing this deepening relationship with a leadership donor, that you may want to go there. But you have to be really clear and thoughtful about that. It is not the gift at any cost. And I think that is one of the evolutions that our industry right now is primed to do, to think about, we're allowed to say no. And as a donor, if you wander away because somebody has said, no, I'm not going to let you move my mission to a place that we're not ready for, if they wander away, they were not your donor. They need to go either find another nonprofit or create a nonprofit of their own. Like if they feel like their money is going to drag you away from the mission that you were created to do, that's a place where your ethics and values, you really need to dig into that. So hopefully at this leadership giving level, you're listening deeply. The donor has deep relationships with people in the organization. You have both been together long enough that you understand the partnership that you are creating. And you have talked about boundaries, and you have talked about ethics, and you have talked about mission. And now the donor is ready to go to the heart of you, right? Is ready to meet you at your mission and begin to create and envision with you the thing that will take you to your next big step, the thing that will make your make your mission really thrive and grow. And that has got to be, like I said, a place of deep transparency, deep relationship, deep partnership, and shared values, really clear shared mission. And that's the place that things really take flight, I think, in that transformational gift place. Sometimes you find in that transformational place, that's where a lot of your planned gifts may come out. That not necessarily in this day and age. I find that fewer and fewer people of wealth, they don't want to give to endowment in the nonprofit field, because they feel like, and I've heard this over and over again, if you've created an endowment in perpetuity, it indicates to me that you're not incentivized to solve the issue that your mission centers around. So in that transformational space, like, that's when you really talk about those things. Like, do we have an endowment? Do we have 100-year vision? In that 100-year vision, what do you want to stake your claim on? And do you want that claim to be in perpetuity, in an endowment sense? Or do you want that claim to be something that we apply directly and in totality to the organization's work? Theoretically, 90% of nonprofit organizations, depending on what they're trying to solve, should be trying to put themselves out of business. And I don't necessarily see that happening. We get very comfortable doing the work, and I think sometimes we forget what it is that we're trying to do, and that's to make ourselves redundant. But anyway, we have come to the end of this. Like I said, this is a very systems way to think about your organization as a whole, to think about where everybody may be taken along a journey. And if you're doing your job right, you are making those opportunities available for people so they can become this transformational moment for both you and for them. So thank you for coming along. Yanazaro is going to finish up doing this for us, and we'll share it on our website. But it's been a pleasure to share this conversation with you. It's one that I often have with organizations that I'm working with. So thank you.